guys, I'm just going to take you through a 10-minute relaxation, so make sure you find a space that's warm, maybe put on your jumpers, fluffy socks, blankets, just find a nice place to lie down. And then when you've found your place, just starting to lie yourself down. If you're using a mat, you want to take your knees bent and take your feet about mat distance apart. If you're not using one, just wider than your hips, just so that you can rest your knees together. Hands can be over the belly or down by the sides. And just using the first few moments, just to notice how you feel. Noticing the meeting points between the body and the mat. And maybe just noticing if that feels a bit strange. It might be the first time that you've been asked to notice how you feel. Maybe notice if your mind goes straight to how you feel in the body or straight to how you feel in the mind. And then starting to notice your breath without trying to change it in any way. Just starting to notice the parts of the body that move on the inhale and the parts of the body that move on the exhale. I'm just working with that for a few breaths. So yoga means to yoke, to join or to connect. And it's a lot more simple than we might think. Right now we're just connecting ourselves to wherever we lay, maybe to each other if you're laying with somebody else practicing with you. Connecting ourselves to the movements of the body as we breathe. So just taking another 8 to 10 breaths, just in your natural rhythm of breath. And then wherever your hands are, I'm just going to take them both over the belly. Feel free to pop some blocks underneath the elbows if your elbows tend to raise from lying down. We're just going to work with trying to slow the breath down. So when we inhale, we want to imagine that the belly is rising up into the hands and maybe pushing the hands a little bit further up into the air. And then when we exhale, we want to imagine that the belly is falling down towards the floor, maybe even making a gap between the belly and the hands. Just a couple of breaths like this, noticing how the belly rises into the hands on the inhale and letting the belly fall on the exhale. Inhale, belly rise. Exhale in, belly fall. Once you've got the rhythm of this, maybe trying to start to make the exhale that a little bit longer than the inhale. It might help to count the breath. Maybe inhale in for 3, 4, 5. Maybe exhale in for 5, 6, 7. Taking another 4 to 6 of these breaths. And then when you're ready, just starting to notice your natural rhythm of breath again. Removing the hands to one side. Just taking another 3 to 4 of your natural rhythm of breath. Maybe noticing the difference. And then this time we're going to start to place the hands over the top of the heart, so the left hand and then the right hand on top. So before we focused all of the breath into the belly, and now we want to focus all of the breath into the chest. So we want to inhale and imagine that the chest is rising towards the hands, and we want to exhale and imagine the chest is sinking away from the hands and towards the floor. So this time inhaling to chest to rise, and exhaling chest fall. And just noticing if you find this breath easier or more difficult than when we had the hands over the belly. Couple of breaths. And then leaving the hands there, just starting to take a couple of breaths in your natural rhythm of breath again. And then we're going to move to place the right hand over the belly and keep the left hand over the heart. Taking about 3 breaths just with your natural rhythm of breath. And then we're going to start to work with our seesaw breath. So we want to breathe in and just think about pushing the belly into that right hand. Breathe out, imagining that the belly is falling down into the mat. And then the same again, but this time we'll breathe in and imagine that the chest is rising into the left hand. And breathe out and imagine that the chest is falling into the mat. So 1 full breath, belly rise, belly fall. 1 full breath, chest rise, chest fall. So a couple of breaths like that. Inhaling and exhaling into the right hand. Inhaling and exhaling into the left hand. And again, just noticing which one feels a bit more natural to you, which one you might find a bit more of a challenge. Maybe another 8 breaths, 4 in each hand. Really remembering to try and make that exhale that little bit longer than the inhale. And then wherever you are, just making that your last breath into one hand and taking 2 deep breaths, feeling the belly and the chest rise, then the belly and the chest fall. 1 more, chest, belly rise, chest and belly fall. And then just removing the hands so they can be back over the belly or down by the sides. And just noticing again your natural rhythm of breath. Feel free to keep the feet to the floor and the knees resting together, or to extend the legs into any comfortable lying down position. And just starting to notice how you feel. Noticing the movements in the body as you breathe. Maybe the belly will continue to rise and fall, maybe the ribs will flare out to the side, maybe the lower back will lift, or maybe it will press down into the floor. Just noticing this. And if your mind starts to wander, take your attention to it. Notice where it's gone. Pay that thought a little attention, and then slowly start to bring it back to your own breath. Maybe it might help to count the breath again, just to give the mind something to do. Just going to stay here for another minute or so. So there's a lovely little concept in Sanskrit called Antar Muna, which might help us when we're trying to relax. When any little external noises or distractions are about, we notice the sounds around us. Maybe any ongoing traffic, maybe somebody in the next room, maybe even birds outside. We notice them, we take our attention to them. And then we slowly start to bring our attention back to our own breath. I'm going to stay here for another 10 to 12 breaths. And then wherever you are, starting to make this your last long, slow exhale. And starting to bring a little bit of movement back into the body. Starting to take the arms overhead, being careful of anything behind you. Stretching the legs out along the floor if they're not already there. Removing any pillows that you might have underneath your head. Having a bit of a yawn and a stretch. And then we're going to bring the knees into the chest, taking hold of around the knees or the shins and having a little rock from side to side. So giving yourself a big hook. And then rolling all the way over to one side, just so that you can use the top hand to help you to come up to any comfortable seated position. So whenever you get there, just taking the palms together into Anjali Mudra. Anjali just means the palm of the hand. Closing the eyes if you feel comfortable, or just looking down. And I'm just going to finish with the mantra of loving. Because I am the only person I will have a relationship with all of my life, I choose to love myself the way I am now. To always acknowledge that I am enough just the way I am. To love, honour and cherish this body, mind and spirit. To be my own best friend. To be the person I'm happy to spend the rest of my life with. To always take care of myself so that I am able to take care of others. Love is the first word in healing, the antidote to stress, the ease that dissolves dis-ease. Love is the positive action we can take when negative thinking flares. It is what we can always be grateful for. Loka samsata sukhinu bhavantu. May all beings be happy. May my thoughts, words and actions contribute in some way to the happiness of all other beings. Om Shanti, Om Peace. Namaste.